everybody. I think it's about time I introduce a new project to the channel. You guys are looking at a 1991 Chevrolet C1500. C because it's two-wheel drive. Anyway, it has got the 5.7 TBI 350 automatic transmission. I believe it's a 700R4. Experts correct me in the comments. I picked this thing up, about 2 months ago. I needed something to pull my mower trailer around with. My car was getting a little wore out, so I figured I better get something a little bit better to pull that trailer with. It is a Silverado trim level, and it's got 220 on the clock, somewhere in there. I'll just walk around this thing and let it sink in. Let you guys take it all in. It is not perfect by any means, but I don't know. It's just got the right look going on for me. It's got some patina in the paint. A nice Chevrolet tailgate. Lovely blue interior. Got the 60/40 bench in it. And the headliner's actually not that terrible. Starting to sag, but you know, we've all seen worse. And we got the lovely 5.7 TBI V8 in it. Factory air conditioning. Good running engine. But I'll tell you the best thing about this truck is this right here. It's got a Jasper Reman engine in it. So the story I got, the gentleman I bought it off of, he bought it from an estate sale. The original owner, the one from the estate sale, bought the truck in 2008 or 9, somewhere in there. There's even receipts in the glove box where he had the dual exhaust put on it. There's tire receipts from putting new tires on it. They've been changed obviously since then. They'd be dry rotted. But the coolest thing was that Jasper engine. I did the math on it. This engine's got roughly 50,000 miles on it. So that was a huge selling point for me. Now, since I've bought this thing, I've literally done nothing to it. I checked the fluids, made sure those were good. I did put new wiper blades on it because they were shot and it was kind of dangerous driving. But that's it. I've been driving this thing right around 2 months. It needs a lot of little things and a couple big things, but I haven't been too worried about it. It's done fine for me. I only drive about 15 miles a week with it, and it's been perfect. But let's go over some of the issues that we need to address on it. It needs a new rear window. See if I can pick this up on camera. The back glass is about to fall out. I'm guessing the urethanes give up down on the bottom. So anytime you close the door and the windows are up, the back glass blows open about that far. And we need to take care of that. If this sticker's correct, it's overdue for an oil change. We got to take care of that. The factory radio does not work. The power window switches, they seem to work when they want to. And having power windows, we need to take care of that as well. I don't think it's going to pick it up, but it has also got a very bad exhaust leak. The header looks like it's fine, or manifold, so I'm hoping it's just a donut gasket, but exhaust leaks drive me nuts. I can't stand it driving down the road. It sounds like an open header on this side, so we got to take care of that. Now, the other main issue is this rust right here. Now, I know this looks alarming at first, but I promise you the frame rails are actually solid. Scaly, but very solid, and I've seen worse. This giant rust hole here is actually just in the hitch, and I have never seen one rust like that before. I've seen some crusty ones, but I've never seen the side of the receiver hitch start rusting out like that. The passenger side, just as bad. Now again, the whole frame is rust colored. It definitely needs to be painted and treated, but it is all solid. I mean, it's in very good shape for being, what would that be now, 33 years old, 34 years old? So we'll need to take care of that, get some paint put on this thing, shine it up a little bit. Now, besides the usual cosmetic issues with the paint flaking, I'm not too worried about that. I do have something in store for that. But the faded headlights, turn signals, the faded tail lights, I'd love to take care of that. Those will be getting replaced as well. On top of the headlights and tail lights, I got to tint the windows on this thing. This thing's like riding around in a fishbowl. We'll be covering that in a video as well. Now, for the main issue, the whole reason I'm making this video today, this poor, tired 700 R4 is just wore out. We need to do something about it. I call it a shift flare. It grabs second gear firm, it grabs it fine, but the 2-3 shift under medium to heavy throttle, it's got a wild shift flare. This thing revs to the moon, it stays there for about 2 seconds, and then it finally shifts into third, and then the overdrive shift, everything's fine from there on out. But it's definitely got a problem with the 2-3 shift. So you've got options. I could pull a transmission out. I could buy me a service manual, buy a rebuild kit, try to somehow figure out the magic and the wizardry that goes into an automatic transmission and try to get it working right. Or I could take it to a shop, say, hey, yank the transmission out of it, fix it, let me know when it's done. Or take the transmission to a shop and let them do it. All three of those options there are kind of expensive. I'm not going to try to tell you what they would cost, but I'm assuming a couple $1,000s at least. Now, two things to consider. I paid $1,700 for this truck the way it sits. Second thing to consider, this is the most important. Who wants an automatic whenever you could put a 5-speed in it? I know manual transmissions ain't for everybody. I personally prefer them, and the fact that you can hardly find anything brand new with a manual transmission anymore makes it even cooler. So you want a 5-speed swap your truck. What's the best way to go about it? Well, you could go to a junkyard, buy the transmission separate, go to a pick apart, hopefully find one that has all the bits you need on it, or you can do like I did, and I bought a donor truck. Well, guys, I'm not going to show you a whole lot of the donor process of me taking the transmission out of this truck, but I just wanted to show you guys what the donor truck was. Let me just walk around this a little bit and let it sink in, and you guys can really see the condition of this thing. We can start with the completely rusted out cab corners and rockers. We can move up to the door that is off a later model truck. The door's actually not bad. I might be able to sell that. Mirrors hanging off. The roof, I think a tree fell on it. I'm not sure. Someone tried bending it back. I got the good old duct tape here trying to keep the water out. Windshield's cracked. The fender again, it's got a dent there. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Hood, again, I mean, it's better not having a hood, I guess. Chrome front bumper, spray painted over. And whenever they decided to paint the truck, they just said to hell with it. Let's paint right over the corner reflectors and marker lights. But they were nice enough to get the same door for this side of the truck. You know, they got a match. Same deal, rusted out cab corner and rocker. I'm assuming this bed's off a later model since it's got the nice smooth flares on it. Or maybe they just put the flares on, I'm not too sure. I'm sure on camera the tailgate don't look that bad, but trust me, it's got dents and dings all over it. Same deal with the chrome rear bumper, painted right over it. I mean, it's beat, guys. It's clapped. But the best thing about this truck's the interior. We'll start with the missing door panel. Well, wait a minute, it's not missing. It's right there. the uninstalled door panel. Piece of rope wrapped around the handle so they could pull the door shut. Not only pull it shut, but keep it shut because it doesn't latch. Move on to the interior here. Wire galore, switches hanging out. I mean, it's just a mess, guys. Custom spray painted dash accents, you gotta appreciate that. Steering column ain't, oh no, it's been boogered with a screwdriver. Probably been stolen once or twice. No headliner, but more evidence of the tree. And it looks like they just took the old ball peen and went at it from the inside. Missing part of the rear glass, 2 pieces. Window tint doesn't match. And I know what you guys are thinking, well, that's a nice set of seats. Yeah, they are in good shape. If they were in the Dodge Dakota or Dodge Caravan they came out of. I mean, they did bolt it to the 4x4. But look at that sweet Hurst shift knob. Now going the donor truck route is, in my opinion, the best option. You've got everything you might need. As you guys saw in that video, that donor truck was a perfect candidate. It was clapped out beyond belief. It didn't have much life left. I'm pretty sure the engine was locked up, so I felt no guilt at all parting that thing out. Now, funny enough, when I went and looked at this truck to buy, the parts truck, not the one I've got here, the nice one, I found in the bed, amidst all the trash, a clutch alignment tool. And you guys know what I'm talking about, that little black plug. It's got the splines on it. Centers in the pilot bearing, center your clutch disc when you put it all together. And I had this false hope that somebody put a brand new clutch in that thing and then the engine locked up or whatever happened. Well, when I pulled it apart, I was wrong. And I'll just show you guys how bad this thing is. I mean, look at the heat marks on this thing. And on top of that, there is no life left on this clutch disc. On this side, you can kind of make out the clutch pads, the material pads. Flywheel, not much better. Got a lot of hot spots in, a lot of grooves. I mean, somebody got their money's worth out of this clutch. But courtesy of Rock Auto, I've got a brand new flywheel, a brand new clutch, master cylinder, slave cylinder, 2 different transmission mounts because I don't know which one I need, so I got both. And before you guys yell at me and tell me I could have saved some money and reused this old flywheel, I called 2 different Napas and the place I worked at and asked them if they ground flywheels. Both Napas said no, and the place I used to work at, they now charge $75 to grind a flywheel. You know what that one cost off Rock Auto? $63. All right, guys, I am tired of talking. I'm sure you guys are tired of listening. I think the best thing to do, because I don't want to take the truck down in case I need it, I think we're going to start with getting the clutch pedal put in and all that stuff. Shouldn't be too bad. And actually right here, you can see the provision. This plug there, there's a bolt hole there and a bolt hole there. So we'll have to get that drilled out, get those drilled out. And then we will get this pedal box mounted. Those are the 2 studs that go through the firewall. Something else that's important, trucks that came with a manual have an additional bracket underneath the dash, at least on the 88 to 94s. Since this truck was an automatic, it does not have the bracket to utilize these 2 bolt holes. So we're gonna do some engineering to get this thing securely mounted up under the dash, and I'll be sure to show you guys that. So let's get to work. Guys, before you start drilling holes, you come in here on the inside, and there's actually part of this factory insulation. I already cut this one, but you pull this out of the way, get you guys in there. You can see right there's our center line holes. The 2 outside ones are the mounting studs, and the center one is the pass-through for the master cylinder. All right, we got our 2 holes drilled in the firewall. We got the big hole drilled for the pass-through. We are going to try to feed this up under the dash and get it set up in there. The way this bracket's designed, I'll show you guys when I get it actually on the truck. These 2 studs pass through the firewall, obviously, and your master cylinder actually goes on the firewall side on these studs, and then you sandwich it to the firewall with these nuts. So that's how this one's set up on the 94 to, or 88 to 94. Well, guys, I'm having some clearance issues, as you can imagine. See my hole up there. I know on camera it looks like I got all the room in the world, but I don't. I had found a forum post forever ago where a guy actually removed this junction block, firewall connector block, to give him a little bit more room. So that's what I did, and I'd show you guys what I did real quick. In case you decide to do this, this is the firewall side, obviously. This is your big bulkhead connector. Instead of trying to take it apart, if you look down in here, there's actually a single 1/4-inch bolt. Right, it's the tip of my middle finger. Loosen that up. It's captive in this connector, but you'll feel it. It'll start bouncing on the threads, and then you just start wiggling this thing side to side. You're probably going to have a heart attack like I did, because when it started coming apart, I started seeing these little capacitors, and I thought, oh, good Lord, I broke it. But don't worry, just keep going, and the whole thing will slide apart, and it'll come off there. Be gentle with it. Then you've got 2 7mm screws on each corner. I'm going to take those out, so hopefully that junction box inside, I can drop it down out of the way and give me enough room to get that box in. All right, guys, once you get the bolts out and that pigtail disconnected, this junction box should slide, oh yeah, slide up off the firewall, giving us just enough wiggle room to where we can slide that pedal box up in there. Well, look at that. We got a 3rd pedal in here finally. Now, guys, I ain't gonna lie to you. This was an absolute pain in the butt to get in here. I didn't film a whole lot because you can't see nothing. So just be warned, anybody who's gonna do this, just go into it knowing it's gonna be a pain in the butt and just take your time with it. So we did get it in there. We've got the 2 studs sticking through the firewall. This big wiring harness loom, that big black one there, that's what I fought the most. You got to manipulate it, move it out of the way to get it to where the pedal will fit right. Just be gentle, don't break nothing, don't force nothing. It will eventually go in. Next thing we need to do is we need to get a 3rd bolt up through the top, because like I said, you guys can't see it. The bracket we need to mount it to the dash is not on the automatics. So we're gonna do some engineering on that to get it set up. And this is the firewall side. Like I said, the master cylinder is going to go there. I just ran those nuts all the way down to hold it tight so we could get everything put in there. Well, you guys are probably wondering why I'm taking the wiper blades off to do a 5-speed swap. I'll explain in a second. All right, like always, that took way longer than it should have, but here we are. We've got the wipers off, we got the cowling off. Now the reason I did this, if you guys look down in here, what you're seeing here is the firewall top skin, whatever you want to call it. So since we don't have that bracket on the dash like we need, what you can do is drill a hole through the bottom of your clutch pedal bracket going straight up. And if we do it right and we guesstimate properly, it should come up somewhere in this area where we can get, you know, a good grade 8 nut and washer on it. That way it's nice and firm, because right now the only thing holding that bracket to the firewall are those 2 studs facing forward, and it's gonna flex whenever we go to use it. So let's see if we can't find a place and drill a hole. All right, once you guys get the cowling off, you can see what I've done here. You've got this bracket, cowling bracket, whatever you want to call it. I decided to drill right on the corner edge of that. To start out with, I used a real small pilot bit just to make sure it was going to land where I wanted it to. Once I liked where it was going to come out, I went ahead and blew it out to a 5/16. That's what size bolt I'm going to use. You guys can use whatever you got. But when we get that bolt dropped in, and I'll bring you guys on the inside to show you where it's actually landing on the bracket. All right, hopefully you guys can see that. See that one shiny stud right there? That's where it came out at. Now you can see you've actually got enough room. You could go ham with it. If you wanted to add 2 or 3 bolts, big fender washers, you can. All we're trying to do is support the top of the clutch pedal box, since the automatic dash does not have the bracket to utilize them, the factory bolt holes in the bracket. So I'm gonna get a nut and washer put on this, and we can move on to something else. Well, I think we've done all we can do up here on the top side. I guess the next thing is we'll get some jack stands underneath this thing and go underneath and start pulling that old transmission out. Guys, I apologize about the lighting. For whatever reason, that Milwaukee light is flickered on camera. Anyway, we're going to try to get this drive shaft out, and these bolts look pretty rusty. There's one thing I hate, it's dealing with rusty drive shaft bolts. We're going to see if we can get these out without rounding them off and getting the die grinder out. Oh yeah. Woo! So we get a little worried there for a second, guys. There it is. While I was down here, guys, I couldn't help but look up here and see what the exhaust leak might be. I don't know what this piece of pipe is off of, but this is some butchery here. I mean, it worked, don't get me wrong. If you look up here at the collector, my hand's gonna block the light. Hang on, get you guys in here, you can see it. Yeah, the pipe flange up there is actually completely rusted out and gone. So that's not something I'm gonna be able to fix. Not a big deal, but at least I know what the problem is now. But really, I can't believe how clean this thing is. For a 91, those appear to be factory inner rockers. I mean, the frame's scaly. But yeah, I've seen a lot worse on trucks 15 years newer than this. All right, guys, I got a little bit done off camera. It's just too cramped down here to try to show you guys anything. I did get the shroud loose. I got the torque converter bolts out. There's only 3 on this, which I think is kind of weird. But anyway, shift linkage is off. I've got the connector. I'm assuming one of these, probably the reverse or something. Another connector back here, probably the speedometer. Transmission cooler lines, they are seized in the transmission, so I did the wrong thing and cut those in half. We're not going to be using them anyway. So all we got left now, oh, I also got the transmission bolt nut loose, and so now all we got to do is take the 4 bolts out holding the cross member in place, put a jack underneath the transmission, and start cussing trying to get the bell housing bolts out. So I'm gonna try to get you guys set up so you can see it. I've got this thing on jack stands as high as I can get it with my current jack, and it's just tight for a feller. I ain't got much room between the old beer belly here. So let's get you guys set up, and hopefully you guys can watch something interesting. Right in the ear. All right, let's try this again. Got a bigger impact and ear protection. Yeah, this is my plan, guys. I'm going to take out all the bell housing bolts, the easy ones. I'll probably leave 2 in it, because I don't want to get the jack in here supporting the transmission until I'm ready, because it takes up so much room. I still got the cross member in, so my plan is take out all of them except a couple to hold it to the engine, put a jack under it, take the cross member out, and then take out the last 2 bolts, probably this one here on the bottom on this side and the one on the other side. And then hopefully we'll be able to work this thing out with my floor jack without dropping it. So I know the manual transmission came out easy, but they're also a lot lighter than these automatic units. So we'll just see how it goes. Ah, there we go. All right, 1 down, 5 to go, I think. I haven't counted them all. I'm kind of afraid to. I'm pretty sure there's, maybe not. I thought there was one further up. Oh yeah, there's definitely 2 all the way at the top. At least they put a wiring harness right across the top of it, and the fuel lines. This is what I'm dealing with now. They ran the fuel lines down behind the engine on top of the transmission, which is fine, but they put that hold down bracket on a bell housing bolt, one of those bolts with a stud, but the tolerance is so tight there's not enough room to pull them off the stud. So how in the hell are you supposed to get them off? Oh, GM, come on now. All right, maybe that'll give us what we need. Holy shit, I got it. Oh, it's a miracle. It only took an hour. That will definitely be something that I forget to put back on. I'm gonna throw this thing in the trash. That's all it was, guys. A stupid clamp. All right. Can we pull the transmission out now? Like I was saying, we just got to take these bell housing bolts out. No big deal. Luckily, there's no annoying brackets in the way or anything like that to deal with. All right. So that one I just took out is also the hold down bolt for the dipstick. Had to put my purse down, guys. Oh shit. This is where we lose the transmission, guys. Come back just a little bit more. Whoa. Oh shit. We got it. We are puking ATF everywhere. Ah. I don't know about you guys, but I need a cold drink. This has been just ridiculous. Oh my. Hope I got enough oil dry for that. Ow.
A little beaver on there.
Stay. So we got the clutch put in, you guys saw that. We need to get the hole cut in the floor. This is how I'm doing it, not the right way. Honestly, the right way to do this would probably be pull the carpet back. That way you're not running the risk of catching it on fire. Use the old death wheel to cut it out. That's not how I'm gonna do it. I used a hole saw to punch out the four corners, and I'm gonna use a sawzall and cut between them. Guys, I think we're going to try to put this transmission in. Oh, we about got it, guys. I can see the dowel. Oh, I think that's it. Holy shit, I can't believe I got that first stab. I don't think I said a single word that entire time. You want to talk about having focus on the task at hand. All right, guys, the reason I was in such a hurry trying to get that transmission in, well, if you want to call it being in a hurry, Drive shaft debacle. This is the one out of the truck. It's going to be too short, even if it had the right slip yoke on it, because the automatic transmission's about 3 inches, 2.5 inches longer than that manual. Now the parts truck obviously has got the right yokes on it, and the rear end U-joint's the same size. That's fine, but since it's a short bed, it's going to be too short. I don't know exactly how short, but I'd guess probably 1.5 feet. So I wanted to get the transmission mocked up so I could hurry up and get this in so I can get a measurement, call up the driveline shop tomorrow, and hopefully get a drive shaft back before the holiday weekend so I can get this project finished up. So I'm going to throw this in, take a measurement. Looks like about 74.5. Something else we need to do is go ahead and change this transmission mount. I boogered it up pretty good trying to get it off. Let's put a cross member in. Alright, well, a couple of days has passed, and I'll kind of want to walk you guys through my drive shaft debacle here. Now, the shaft on the left is the one that is out of the parts truck, the short bed 5-speed. This one is out of the truck itself, which was a long bed automatic. So, had I done the right thing and bought the proper parts truck, if it was a long bed with the 5-speed, I'd have the right drive shaft. But I didn't. I bought what I could find. It was still a good deal. For $200, I got everything I needed. So now I've been trying to figure out what to do with the drive shaft. Now in my mind, I'm thinking, well, no big deal. I'll just have either this one lengthened since it's got the right yoke on it, have this one lengthened, whatever, and add a couple inches to it, and that should make up the difference because the transmission is only about 1.5 inches shorter compared to the automatic. Well, I talked to a good friend of mine. He's a very good drive shaft builder. I trust his opinion. And he told me what I was wanting, he wouldn't recommend unless it was an aluminum drive shaft. He said it's going to be a little bit too long for steel if your measurement's correct. Well, me being me, not taking no for an answer, I came home, I remeasured, and this is what I've decided to do. I've decided to use the proper yoke from the manual drive shaft on the automatic drive shaft, and you can see the difference in the yokes there. This one is much smaller. Now, it sounds simple, but it's kind of not, and I'll explain why. So this drive shaft here out of the short bed, the one with the proper yoke, you guys have probably seen this before. This has the GM plastic filled U-joints in it. You actually got to heat them up and melt the plastic out. Commonly called like a 3R and S44 U-joint. Now the automatic shaft, someone had already done that, or this one's different. It came with a 1330 U-joint. And I've tried to write the sizes down here. The 3R, if you guys can tell, is slightly larger. And on top of the caps being larger, it's also got a larger cross section. So the U-joint body itself is bigger. Now, still not a big deal. They make U-joints for that situation. So doing some math with my calipers, I've crossed it and figured out that this is what I need. This is called a conversion U-joint. Part number here is a 5-793X. This is the non-greasable version. So what this U-joint is going to allow me to do is adapt the 3R style yoke to the 1330 style yoke on the drive shaft. It's actually got 2 different sized U-joints on each end. I apologize for not bringing you guys along for the dismantling process on these, but I was trying to get them apart, trying to hurry up and get this done before the holiday weekend. But I will show you guys how to put U-joints in, and all you need is a bench vise. Now this is what you're gonna see when you take it out of the box. See, and this being a conversion joint, we've actually got the 2 outer snap rings, which is for like the 1330 style, and the inner snap rings, which is gonna be to replace the 3R style. So this is what you're gonna have, and this is the U-joint itself, and you guys can see 2 caps are set up for inside snap rings, and these other 2 are outside snap rings. It is very important that you don't mix these up trying to put them in the drive shaft, because all you're going to do is mess your yokes up on your drive shaft, and you're going to be out some money and some more time. So I'm just going to go through, spend some time, and clean these snap ring grooves out. This yoke's actually in really good shape for the age, but you can see all that crap I just pulled out of there. Typically, you can get these started enough that they'll stay in place. Then you're simply just going to use the vise, get these started. While you're tightening this, just be wiggling your U-joint, making sure nothing's binding up. You just don't want to push any further once you get one to the outside of the yoke. So that one's bottomed out all the way. For now, I'm just going to do one socket. Let's go a little bit more. All we're trying to do is get this first cap past the snap ring groove. It's all right if you go over a little bit. You guys see that groove all the way around? That's what you want. Press that. You can see this part up here is engaged in that groove, but this side's not. It is very important you get that fully seated. Don't go crazy, just a little tappy tap like that. Now, if you clean your grooves out like I did, that's as easy as it should be. Should snap in. If you got to fight it, there might be another issue. And the main thing is just don't force it. Because if you do, you're going to be cussing whenever you got to take this to a shop and have this yoke replaced, and you're out a couple $100. We can finish driving this one in now. And just send it home. Having a little tolerance issues on that one, guys. I had to smack it a couple times. These inside snap rings, they literally do what I just called them. In here on the inside, you've got a groove on the U-joint itself. Just a matter of slipping it in. And again, just make sure it is fully seated. Look at that. Nice free range of movement. All right. All right, we got that in, bolted in. Let's see how we did on the front half. Well, I don't think that's gonna work. Man. It'll do for now. We'll be able to test the transmission, maybe put around the block, but I'm not gonna get on the highway with that thing like that. That's one big pothole away from coming out and doing some damage, so. Well, even though I totally messed up the drive shaft, the show must go on. So we're going to go ahead and get the slave cylinder put in. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet or not. I'm sure a lot of you guys are yelling at your TV, want to know why I didn't buy a pre-bled unit. I cannot find one for this truck. I could find them for the 94 to 98, but these are a different style, and I could not find one complete. Not a big deal. It's cheaper to go this route anyway. We're just going to have to bleed it. So I'm going to get this tossed in. This is the old line that came out of the parts truck. It's in good shape. Somebody's put that on the truck instead of the factory you know, crimped rubber one. So we'll get that put in too. I'm assuming it's gonna go in this way so our bleeder's on top. Worst case, we'll just flip it around. Well, I got the line hooked up on the bottom side. We're gonna see if we can get this one put in. Well, I got the line put on. I didn't quite like the way it felt when I was threading it in, but it's not moving, feels tight. The one down on the slave feels tight. So we're gonna dump some brake fluid in this, some DOT3. I don't know, see how many leaks we got. Maybe we'll even try to bleed the air out of it, I don't know. Well, just like I feared, this line right here is leaking. I'm gonna see if I can snug it up. Well guys, I've been bleeding this thing by myself for a little bit now. I think I've got it good enough. I don't really know. If I had a second person here, I'd have them hop in it and push the clutch in, and I try to spin the drive shaft, but my arms ain't quite long enough to do both. So I think the next thing we're gonna do is get all the tools out from underneath the engine bay so I don't blow a radiator apart. And we're gonna try to start this thing on the jack stands and see what it does. This is it. I've double checked and triple checked everything. I don't think there's anything wrapped around the drive shaft or the engine. I don't know, guys. I think we're gonna start it. If it does start, I've wiggled a whole lot of wires. If it starts, we're gonna try to put it in gear. I don't know. Fingers crossed. Clutch still needs bled, but it started. So that means I didn't mess nothing up too bad. We just got to keep bleeding the air out of that clutch, that slave cylinder. That's a good start, guys. Very good start. All right, guys, I'm gonna try something. Doing the old Google searches, it seems like I'm not the only one that has trouble bleeding the slave cylinders on these. So I'm gonna go on the underside, take the slave off the bell housing, and try compressing the piston in the slave itself. And hopefully you guys will see some air bubbles working their way up. So that's what I'm gonna try. I got nothing to lose. All right, take two. You guys saw, it looks like I got a bunch of air out that time. in. That's something great there. I'd call that a success. I just cannot in this video without showing you guys me driving this thing. So we know the drive shaft is very sketchy. I'm not going to be doing no rips, third gear launches, doing burnouts. I'm just going to put it down the road, but I want to make sure it goes through the gears, and I'll bring you guys along for the ride. Here we go, guys. They're second. Third. Guys, I would love to rip on this thing and mat it. Two things: we need to be responsible. We're breaking in a new clutch. Can't be driving like idiots. Second of all, this drive shaft is one bad pothole away from leaving the chat. So I gotta be easy on it. Guys, I think that's going to do it for this one. I know we probably shouldn't have drove it with that drive shaft being like that, but come on, I couldn't resist. You guys have watched this whole video waiting for me, and I couldn't let you down like that. So as soon as I'm done in here, I am going to head to town with that drive shaft and try to find one that'll work a little bit better than this one. I wish it would have worked out. That's literally the only thing I'm waiting on now to actually road this thing like I was doing with it before. There's still a lot of little things I need to finish putting back together from the 5-speed swap, but just stuff I didn't want to bore you guys with. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit change of pace from what I normally do with the lawnmowers and the tractors and stuff, but I mean, who doesn't want a 5-speed swap an old Chevy? Another thing I want to talk about, the last video with the Husqvarna is doing great. Because of that video, the channel's almost doubled in size over the last month, which is crazy to me. So anybody who's subscribed, I appreciate you. Anybody who's not, who's watching my videos but likes them, consider doing it. It doesn't cost you guys a dime, it only takes a couple seconds, and it helps the channel out a lot, and it keeps you guys up to date on it. Speaking of stuff with the channel, I'm in the process right now of getting some logos made up. I'm thinking about selling some stickers, maybe some t-shirts. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I have a lot of stuff planned for this truck. It needs a lot of little fixes, but there's a lot of fun stuff I want to do with it. I want to do something with the paint. I wouldn't mind lowering the reverse leveling it or lowering the back end a couple inches. Need some wheels and tires, window tint, that's going to get done too. And honestly, what I'd like to do is take that bed off and clean the frame, recoat it, put the new hitch on, and there's a lot of stuff I want to do on the back half of the truck too. So you guys enjoy your 4th of July weekend, and I'll see you on the next one.